it? Everything's suddenly so lively around here.
We're all heading to our battle stations. You'll have to go back inside. What is the matter with the lock device for this room?
Hello and welcome to It's a Gundam, the internet's best and only, as far as I know, episode by episode Gundam Seed podcast, where we watch every episode of Gundam Seed, and then after we talk about it. This week we're watching episode 9, Fading Light. My name is Geremy.
In the year 20XCX, I was awakened from my slumber. I'm Tyler.
I didn't even know we were the best at anything. My name is Zach.
I would say that we have the best podcast that reviews retro video games, except for the fact that there's like a million of those.
Retronauts exists, and that's probably like the 5th best.
Yeah, but how many of them have me on them?
I think that is probably what's bringing us down.
Which podcast are we doing?
It's just not the one we've been talking about.
Stop Gundam Time.
Ah.
That was the alternate title. All right, yeah. Man, normally I have some stuff I want to talk about before the episode, but I don't know if there's anything
Particularly relevant for this one.
Yeah, I mean, we got Lacus in play.
We've got Haro in play. I maintain, who would ever buy one of those? They're like the most annoying pieces
Well, how
of
can you
like,
tell?
Spoiler, no one in Gundam Seed has ever bought one.
Okay.
There are a couple dozen in the series. None of them have been purchased.
They're just there. Oh, God.
Don't worry, the mysteries of the Haro origin are explored, and there's a sweet webcomic about it that I can share with you next episode.
Nonsense. Haros breed like Paris sprites.
That's a My Little Pony joke. That's appropriate, because Flay Ulster is voiced by Rarity in the
Really?
English dub.
Huh.
Oh, you want to know some fun voice actor trivia? I can do into fun voice actor trivia this episode. The Japanese voice actors for Mu and Maru are Tuxedo Mask and Sailor Moon.
Yeah, and their relationship is about the same.
And Mu doesn't throw roses at Jins, and that is
But
too
wouldn't
bad.
wouldn't that be so much better?
And he also doesn't just go, Maru, believe in yourself. I'm going to be over there.
Nice catch.
And Matt Hill, the voice actor for Kira Yamato in the English dub, is also the voice of Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy, whereas his Japanese voice actor dubbed Ed in the Japanese dub of Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Wait, there was a Japanese dub of Ed, Edd n Eddy? Why?
But
Why not?
Lacus, Flay will get mad, and then Flay will tell Mu, and then Mu will tell Nataro, and Nataro will say, not now, I'm busy. I can't think of any other useful voice actor trivia or useless voice actor trivia.
The Joker grew an amazing beard.
Yeah, and then he was in a movie.
Yep.
He looked confused, like, well, how would I get here? Why am I in this movie? Isn't this movie over? And then this movie was over.
It got promoted in a couple places. There's a Twitter account called Lonely Luke, where it's Luke, or from the perspective of Luke being on that island for 20 years
Oh,
alone.
I hadn't seen that.
No, I just saw Emo Kylo Ren, which everyone seems to be talking about.
He's like, Han Solo, more like Han Duo. He's always hanging out with Chewbacca. I'm so lonely.
Seriously, all he does in that movie is look confused.
Yep. He looks really confused. You're
Yeah.
like, you weren't expecting her? Come on. What's the Force doing these days?
And why did you change out your hand?
Maybe all the skin peeled off, and he didn't want to go get a new one.
That's true. It's symbolic. He wears it to remind himself to never become his father. Actually, I totally called Kylo Ren being Luke, and I was way wrong. So I'm a
I
little
was
sad.
really afraid that was going to be it, because it seemed too obvious to me.
I was kind of afraid of that too.
Well, it's only too obvious because you guys watch film theory.
No,
so.
I heard that theory before.
Okay.
People were talking about that from the first trailer, since Luke wasn't in it, and Kylo Ren's mysterious mystery is highlighted.
Although now it makes sense because what would have shown in the trailer? Luke turning around looking confused.
Yes.
Easiest 5 figures he's probably ever made.
I assume he's going to be in the next movie. So
Yeah, but he'll have to do something, probably.
He might have to say a line.
I really hope he rides around on her back like Yoda did.
Do or do not, there is no try. You're really heavy.
You should have seen me before they told me I was getting hired for this.
Size matters not. If size doesn't
Have you
matter,
seen this island? There's no food here. I haven't eaten in the last 10 years.
You know, speaking of this, Gundam Seed came out right after Phantom Menace.
Oh, really?
And Gundam
Man.
Seed Destiny came out right after Revenge of the Sith. And boy, can you tell. But they don't have to deal with that for like another year. More than that, Because in a year, we'll be at the good part of Gundam Seed Destiny, and Tyra will be like, oh, what are you talking about? This seems pretty cool. Shin is a cool guy. I like Luna Maria.
I don't know who these people are yet.
I don't know what's up with this
Consider
masked guy.
yourself lucky.
The thing is, we've told him who the masked guy in Destiny is, but he doesn't remember because it was offhand in a podcast, so he gets to go through that himself.
I remember watching Destiny and being like, no, Geremy, he's not right. It's not nearly that. Oh, God.
Is it Kira's evil twin?
No, the problem with Destiny is, you know that scene in Die Hard 2 with the plane that's going down and they've told it the wrong elevation for the ground?
No,
you don't.
I don't
Okay.
actually. I've never watched any Die Hard movies.
Well, you need to fix this next Christmas. But
I do.
the plane's going down and you can see the plane going down and you're just like, pull up! See Destiny, pull up! And then you get on the forums with torches just waving, trying to signal that it's too close to the ground. But they see it too late, and then they blow up like 10 Death Stars.
Well, at least there aren't any death planets. That would just be silly. Who would make one of those?
There's always a
Look,
weak
look,
point.
the Death Star's dick is this big, but Starkiller Base's dick is this big.
My favorite thing about that is, like, the dark side was, like, using all this subtle metaphor and stuff. Then the light side was talking about their philosophy, and it's got Ace Star Pilot or something like that. And he's like, as long as the light's still there,
Yeah.
we have hope. I'm like, can you be any more on the nose?
Although I kind of like that as a visual timer.
Well, yeah, definitely that. It's
But then
just
they
like,
don't really use it that well, so.
But they made a bunch of, like, hope-inspiring metaphors.
Also-
I'm like, really?
If you rewatch Return of the Jedi, they talk about how Vader is evil and Luke is good. They don't use the word good or evil in the entirety of Episode 7. They use light and dark.
Yep.
Massive planet-sized space station. Find who you're looking for in less than 15 minutes.
Well, see, I always
They
write
used the
coincidences.
Force.
Twice.
Yeah, see, I write coincidences like that off in these movies because the Force is clearly guiding crap, right? I mean, the same thing happens in, like, every Star Wars video game.
Yeah, that's how Rey got Luke's lightsaber. Doesn't make any sense that Barb Woman would have it, but the
Because
Force.
it fell into it fell off of Cloud City.
The Empire probably went and got that. I think in the
There's no
Zahn
ground
books they
on.
did.
There's no ground on Cloud City.
Yeah, there is. It's just toxic.
I also assume, like, it didn't fall into, like, a vent. I assume it's in, like, Bespin. I assume it's in a maintenance shaft somewhere, and the Empire did take over.
I kind of assumed it fell into one of the shafts like Luke did and just kind of got vented
Oh, yeah,
out.
I forget that Luke didn't just, like, walks out, like, drunk out of Cloud City at the end of that movie, and drunk dials Leia is like, can you give me a ride?
I kind of want the big lightsaber battle between Luke and Vader now to be a drinking contest.
All right,
And then he loses and accidentally, like, hurts his hand.
since I've recapped Empire Strikes Back so well, why don't one of you recap Gundam Seed up to this point for the new listeners?
I did it last time. You're right, Zach.
But Zach is the worst.
I know, which is... He hasn't done it yet, though, and I want to hear his
No,
recap.
he did it once, and I cut it because it was, and did it myself. Because he was like, yeah, there's Kira, and there's Ather, and there's coordinators.
Go for it, Kevin. Go for it, Tyler.
I am not...
Go for it, Kevin. Tell the people about Gundam Seed because you're totally here. We should call Kevin and tell him to do it.
Okay, what has happened in Gundam Seed so far? Okay, so there's a neutral colony. Kira, goddamn Jesus, one-hand typist Yamato is accidentally drafted into combat after saving some random mechanic who also turns out to be the highest-ranking officer, takes over a mobile suit, fights off some other mobile suits, most of which are stolen by evil Zaft.
Lots
Or
of yelling,
potentially-
lots of angst.
Yeah, lots of Atherin inksing at him. Atherin, by the way, is his boy crush from childhood. They commandeer the white base, and yes, it's the white base.
It's sleeker. It's got more curves. It's the white base after a nice workout. You know, you'd think after being 30 years old, the white base would be getting kind of fat, but it looks better than ever.
Anyway, they commandeer the white base and fight their way to a colony where a pointless episode happens, and then they just leave. Meanwhile, Mask Guy and Moo Guy.
Mask Guy and Moo Guy.
No.
I mean, there has to be fan art of Moo wearing a cow hat somewhere.
And then a wild Lacus appeared.
Yeah, and then a wild Lacus appeared. Oh, also, by the way, she's engaged to Atherin, so now Atherin has to choose between his best friend as a child and this pink-haired chick.
Do we know that yet?
Yeah, we do. I talked about how I think it's revealed in the next episode, but it's totally revealed when Rao super awkwardly goes, "Hey, Atherin,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
your fiancé on TV, right?"
That's right.
No, that happened
It's
like
not
last
revealed
episode.
to Kira yet.
It's like
Yeah.
2 episodes.
Yeah, Kira
Yeah.
doesn't know that, but we, as the audience, know that. And immediately when she comes out of the pod and Kira's like, she's beautiful and has pink hair, I'm like, oh,
that
geez.
terribly animated scene.
This is going to cause problems, isn't it?
Well, but Kira only has crushes on people in relationships.
That is true.
Because Flay is with Sai.
Oh, man. Wow. Although, I'd argue that Lacus is a little bit more bubble-headed than Betty, so...
Yeah, but she's kind-hearted in the same way.
That is true.
I blew my joke earlier. I was totally going to use that when he talks to Lacus and then Veronica just comes up behind him, delaying him further. But case in point, last episode, Athern and his commanding officer Rao went to look for his fiancée Lacus for PR reasons. But she's on the Archangel, which is the White Base.
Which is really inconvenient for someone. I'm not sure who yet.
All right, and that's where this episode picks up. So, like some of the early episodes, we start out with a slightly longer version of some scenes from the previous episode. After the recap we basically just gave, we forgot all the exasperation of the commanding officers because
Also,
they have
the
a pop
terrible
idol.
art.
And the racism. You didn't even mention racism.
Oh, yeah. Also, there are space racists.
Okay.
And genetic engineering. Look at his face. What is wrong with your face, Kira?
At least the close-ups on Lacus here are good. This is like the only part in these two episodes where Lacus is drawn correctly.
The close-ups look okay. It's the, wide shots that looked terrible.
But this is last episode. This episode's animation is a little better. The Archangel is on its way to finally rendezvous with a escort fleet, which will include Flay's dad, who is, we find out shortly, a vice minister in the Atlantic Federation, which is one of the major countries in the Earth Alliance.
I paused it here because the subtitles threw me off for a second because he said they forwarded their crew list to the oncoming ships that they're about to meet.
Yeah.
In English, he says passenger list, which makes a hell of a lot more sense to me. Because why
Because
would
not
Flay be listed as a crew member?
Because everyone is a crew member right now. They don't have enough people to put a guard in front of Lacus's room.
I guess that's true. It threw me off.
I feel like a lot of the civilians are probably not doing anything half
Yeah,
the
most
time.
of them are. We see the only civilians that do anything are Kira's friends not named Flay.
I feel as though there was a doctor that does something off-screen because they mention it.
Yeah,
when-
he takes a look at the gunshot that Maru got.
I'm kind of
which has
surprised that
disappeared.
Flay isn't doing anything because Cuzzy is doing things.
Well, Flay is a spoiled princess, and Cuzzy is a college student. He's used to doing stuff. He tries to do as little as possible, but he still does stuff.
No, my argument is that he's such an unimportant character so far that, come on, he's pitching in. You can spend some of those main character points, Flay.
Well, she's got to wear that pink dress, like I talked about earlier, that signifies she's not doing anything.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That is very important, that pink dress.
Plus, Gundam girlfriends don't do anything except Fa, who pilots the Methus, and Fa's the worst. I guess Rue pilots the Zeta Gundam. She's pretty cool, but Double Zeta Gundam sucks.
I cannot remember. Oh, Frau. Never mind.
Relina is...
Oh, jeez.
They've said that Lacus is an attempt to do Relina only well, but I don't believe that because there are good things about Lacus.
Rain?
Rain is cool,
Yeah, that's true.
Rain is helpful.
Yeah, she gets her own Gundam. She actually kicks ass once or twice.
but Rain isn't as cool as Allenby.
No.
Although, is that really Domon's girlfriend?
Rain?
No, Allenby.
No, but she could have been.
She could have been.
Just like all sorts of people could be Kira's girlfriend.
And they could have-
He's got a bevy of girls to choose from.
Wait, we should pause really quick because I need to contemplate using the Gundam battle suit for awkward Gundam sex.
Oh, another spoiler. There's totally Gundam hand-holding in this series.
Why?
It's pretty good.
Okay.
It's not
I'll
for
take
a
your word
while,
for it.
but trust me, it's pretty great.
Okay, you may continue. I'm done contemplating
The
that.
Gundam hand-holding in Destiny sucks. So this episode begins with us seeing some of the useless passengers and them being excited. Really, the whole crew is excited that they're finally going to get relief from this escort force. And Miri is on her way to the bathroom, where she sees Flay giving herself a facial and giving the boys some nice fan service since we got Naked Athern last episode.
I love, Midiadia is freaked. She's like, God, Flay, you're half naked in a women's bathroom? Jeez.
I'm about to take a shower and be fully naked, but what's going on? Again, this scene, though, is to highlight how she's a spoiled princess. Instead of helping with ship combat, she's giving herself a facial and making sure she looks good, and giving us some exposition about who her father is. Because to make her even more foily to Lacus, her father is a high-ranking official in the Earth Alliance government. But
So just
already the animation is so much better
It
than the
is.
entirety of last episode. I'm pretty sure they spent more money on that bathroom scene than all of last episode. They cut some corners here, but not there. So we see Maru talking to the captain of the Montgomery.
I'm confused as to why a minister is on board that ship anyway.
To see his daughter.
Also because, this is a high-class military vessel, it's possible his government invested a lot of money in it. Actually, which portion of the Earth Alliance has made the Archangel?
The Atlantic Federation.
Okay, so
where
yeah,
he's
that's
from.
probably why. He's probably on some sort of Senate committee or something.
Also, we kind of find out that the Earth people don't really know what's going on in the war, so it's possible he's up here in part to see.
Kira's working on something in the strike right afterwards. We get that scene.
It's probably just creating an artificial intelligence for it. I mean, he's using both hands. He should be done by now.
Yeah, well, the feat only lets him one-handed make operating systems in incredibly tense situations. He's got to spend a fate point for that, and he's not going to spend a fate point when he's got all the time in the world. So Murdoch comes off, they have a little chat. Kira says, well, I guess this is pointless because I really want to be a main character still and damn my chances of getting out peacefully. Murdoch says if he wants to keep it up, he can always apply for the military and enroll, and Kira gives a pretty great, in both languages, not a chance in hell response, which I really like. It's like the one time Kira is assertive in his entire life. He's assertive with no one there, but it's a step in the right direction.
And apparently Mirialia and Sai operate very similar things because Sai and Mirialia tag out.
Like, literally tag out. It was actually kind of a cool scene. I like that. But
I did like it, but...
We actually see quite a bit of that when they're not in combat. So then we get Lacus's song again, and here's where the budget cuts start. Because we see just a whole bunch of scenes we've seen before and different things. Also a weird scene of Moose sleeping, but not in the bed.
It's just like hanging in a sleeping bag.
when you're in space for long enough, you develop weird habits.
Well, that also might be the bed, but we've actually seen their sleeping quarters. That's not what the sleeping quarters look like.
And we get a flashback to a wild Lacus appearing, which kind of makes sense, but I don't know whose perspective this is supposed to be from. Is this Kira fantasizing about the magical space girl? Is this Lacus thinking about Kira?
Although it's Lacus singing through that scene, right? So maybe she's remembering it?
But then
she's
we cut
currently
to
singing.
Kira afterwards. So maybe they're
Yeah.
both thinking. Also, Moo is in the middle. So is Moo dreaming of it?
Yes.
Moo
It's
wasn't
like-
even there.
I'm just thinking of Moo going, man, that was a really nice moment for Kira.
Yeah. It's like,
I
yeah,
should have been there.
That kid needs to get laid. This is good.
Archangel.
The bottom line is they paid money to get this song, and they're going to get their monies out of it. God damn it. So then we cut to the Versalius, which is Rao's ship, and he's explaining how they want to cut off the escort teams, and the two other ships that were supposed to join them haven't arrived yet. Athern sort of protests since they're supposed to be finding Lacus and stuff, but Rao shoots him down with the pretty reasonable, yo, bro, we're soldiers. Ignoring our mission is what we do.
To be fair, though, this is probably a higher priority target. I suspect if they ask command, they'd be like, oh yeah, no, that's probably way more important.
And
Well,
Patrick Zala sent them out. Patrick Zala would 100% say, yes, burn them all. He's the
Especially,
emperor now.
especially because of how we've already seen Rao be very highly prioritized on that, not particularly care about civilian casualties.
So the Archangel picks up interference from some sort of jammer on the way to the rendezvous, and they realize that means trouble. We get not exactly a repeat, but a very similar scene where the Jin pilots the Versalius has picked up tell Athern to show him what that suit has, which is basically what Izak says the first time they launch, and Athern responds the same way with sure, very non-committally. Then we get some Athern flashbacks to his father giving an impassioned speech, and also his meeting up with Kira, and Kira sort of calling into question his motivation. It's pretty good Athranxed. What bugs me about this episode is this is all we really get from Athern for the entirety of it. There's no angst once he actually starts fighting his best friend.
Oh, maybe he was thinking about that to numb himself.
He
beforehand.
pre-angsted.
Yeah, exactly. Got all the angst out of his system beforehand.
Wouldn't it be smarter to turn on the armor once you actually hit combat, not before, to save power?
You don't want to be taken out of your sweet Gundam by a random shell.
Well, not to mention that the strike has that awesome sniper beam. He might be using it right now. You never know.
So the 3 Alliance ships, 2 Drake classes and a Nelson class, because I'm a nerd, deploy their Mobius units against 3 Jins and the Aegis.
Although, as we've seen before, the Mobius are really not a match for mobile suits, unless you're Moo.
So Flay's dad is completely going bonkers because he's a civilian caught in a combat zone. And I love the captain's expressions, just completely deadpan Stonewall.
Well,
As
look
the
at,
other guy's getting out of his chair and being all crazy.
if you look at the senator's expression, he's clearly complaining because he asked for a bean burrito, and instead he got a shredded chicken burrito.
To be fair to the civilian, this is what I said earlier. It doesn't seem like anyone on Earth knows what's going on up here, because he's like, how can all these Jins be killing our Mobiuses? We outnumber them like 3-1. So clearly they're spreading misinformation about how well they're doing up here.
I'm kind of surprised that being a high leader in the government, he doesn't know that, though, because it's normally the government keeping stuff from people.
Yes, so the question becomes, who's keeping stuff from him?
The Archangel is ordered to withdraw from the fight.
So they talk over whether or not they should leave or not. Sai brings up Flay's father is on the ship, and Maru decides that there's no guarantee they would escape anyway, which she previously said they couldn't outrun the Nazca class and the Archangel. So that kind of makes sense. And she decides to take the Archangel into combat.
Yeah, but the thing about it is the Nazca's currently locked in a dance with the other 3 ships, so they could probably get away from it.
Yeah, they could also
Especially
probably
since
get
the
shot
Nazca
off,
class
though.
doesn't actually know where they are. But yeah, that's true.
We could
Get
just
a
mount
good
the
shot off
strike
of it.
on top of the Archangel and shoot the entire ship out of the air. They're not going to do that, though.
The Aegis, or rather the Ale Strike is in mobile suit intercept.
Also, Maru is a horrible captain.
Yes, but I don't think this decision is bad.
No, I'm
It might
just
not be the
pointing out
best.
that they don't take a shot with their main cannons when they've got a freebie.
Well, but we don't really know where they're coming from. They might have a 3B through their allies.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
they never
true.
really display the battlefield very well.
Kira starts running to his battle station, and he goes by the door where Lacus is through, which just opens as he passes it. And he stops and's like, what's going on here?
Clearly, she's a new type, so.
She's that kind of rogue, I told you. Lacus asks what's going on. Basically just a cute little scene between them. She asks if he's going to fight. She continues to call him Kira-sama, which is adorable, or Mr. Yamato in the dub, which actually I quite like.
That's actually awesome.
I actually like the line. And we get a fantastic line from Kira as he's wondering what is the matter with the lock on the room, because obviously they locked her in, but the door keeps unlocking for some reason.
So,
Yeah.
I've noticed that there aren't really bathroom facilities in that room.
But she has to call out, just like her food, and then she has to get in a fight with Flay, and then she can use the restroom.
Flay is the gatekeeper of the restroom.
You must defeat this flay to go on.
He actually delivers the line really well in English, too.
Considering the amount of mental harm she causes, you might actually call her a mind flayer.
Da 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 da.
That was horrible.
Da.
You know, Kira spends an awful lot of time talking to Lacus about the whole battle stations thing when they actually need to.
He's only wasting like 30 seconds.
My problem is more how casual he looks. Like he's trying to look cool almost. It's not quite that, though. It's not quite him flirting with her. It's just him being... Maybe he's trying to mimic Mu. This is probably exactly what Mu would have done.
Probably, yeah.
Lacus decides to sing her song with her Haru again as she goes back in. And right as Kira's running, fucking Veronica comes in and is like, Kira, what's going on?
It would be horrible if this was some kind of emergency where Kira needed to launch immediately.
Yeah, and
given how many people are delaying him from actually
Flay's
launching.
father might be in danger. And he tells her that Flay's father will be fine because they'll be there.
Although, you know how many Mobius pilots are dying right now?
Well, at least 2, because Athearn shot them down. All right, so then we get the nice eye catch right before the battle.
Which is actually a pretty good time to do it if you're actually watching this on live television.
Yep, a little cliffhangery. Hey guys, it's Geremy again, just me, and I'm going to make this quick because I'm sick with a terrible headache. We have 3 more days, if you're listening to this the day it comes out, for you to enter our contest. The deadline for that is September 5th. If you don't know, you can win a Master Grade Gundam 2.0 model kit for the Freedom Gundam, a copy of Gundam the 8th MS Team on DVD, or a copy of Gundam the 8th MS Team on Blu-ray. All you have to do to enter is email us at gundam@lasttimeonvideogames.com, send out a tweet with the hashtag GundamPodcast, or give us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Any or all of those will enter you. You can do all 3, and then you'll be entered 3 times and triple your chance to win. We did get a few more emails, but since I'm not feeling well, I will read them next time when I actually want to give a full reply to them. So yeah, you've got a couple of days. Like I said, September 5th is the last day to enter. So send those emails, tweets, and reviews, and get back to the episode. So we see some more Mobius pilots dying to Jins. Some of this footage is reused from the first episode, which isn't great, but there's enough new footage in there you can't quite tell. And the Aegis starts going to town on one of the battleships. In particular, we see it transform into its mobile armor mode and use the big cannon there, which is able to sink the ship. So it gives it some use. Apparently, you can only put a anti-ship cannon on a mobile suit if it's in the chest. So again, we reuse some footage, this time of the Mobius Zero launching, because there's a tense battle going on outside. What we need to do is watch some launch sequences.
Well, I mean, clearly, it builds anticipation. Red Zero, standing by.
Kira finally arrives late, and again, to save some money, we see the packing on of the Ale Striker pack, the entire thing, same as the first time. And Sai reminds Kira that Flay's father is there in case the audience wasn't watching before the commercial break, but knows who Flay is.
It would be something that you'd likely be reminded of, especially by Sai, who's a friend of both of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's not really something you need to remind Kira of. He's already well aware of that fact, or probably well aware of that fact.
He's already Captain Guilt.
You're just adding more pressure to him. More guilt for the fire, I guess.
What I want to know is why the launch pad has those nifty little displays that say launch or abort 3 times. Who's going to be there looking at it?
So we get a shot of Flay being depressed. The dub adds a dumb line there that I think ruins a bit of the tension.
I can't remember what it is.
It's just Dad or something like that. The Archangel arrives by firing the Valiants and taking out one of the 3 Jins, so they've already done more than 9 Mobiuses and 3 battleships. And Rao's like, the main character has arrived. Don't focus on the others. But he just says it to himself, I guess hoping his psychic powers will make
I love how he actually says the main character, too.
Well, yeah, he's exactly that kind of asshole. But
I do like how, before we get Rao's little thing there, the captain of the Montgomery is actually frustrated that the Archangel has stuck around.
Yeah, and
is actively joining the fight.
Yeah. So then the Strike and the Aegis start engaging each other. It's some pretty cool fight scene with them just dodging each other's beams. But instead of all those launch sequences, maybe we could get some still reused footage of flashbacks to build some angst between the two. They don't even really acknowledge each other.
Which is kind of weird, although maybe they're so angry from the last time. I don't know.
So Mu almost takes down a Jin, but then just gets shot and has to go back. He doesn't get much done.
Can we get Mu in a mobile suit yet? Come on.
You gotta wait a while, buddy.
I mean, he's still kind of a bamf, but he gets hit a lot.
Then we get another shot of Flay, again continuing to be... She has a more determined look. That's mostly the reason that I think the line doesn't work in the English dub, is getting her quiet sort of helps with her emotions, I think, and the line just sort of makes it feel fillery. They don't have anyone guarding the bridge because there's no one on this ship. So
or
Flay just kind of peeks in.
Or locking the bridge down. Like, I would think that would be the better option, is having the bridge locked down because, you know, you have civilians on board the ship.
So Flay jumps on the ship, but Maru tells her to get the hell out of there. She starts blathering about her dad, which is understandable, but she is being a nuisance. So Sai, since there's no one on the ship, has to take her away, and she gets especially freaked out when she sees one of the ships destroyed on the monitor. But it's not her dad's, so her dad will be fine. His name's George. Nothing bad happens to guys called George. We need George and Pat's fun times.
And like Flay's in shock.
Well, I mean, that makes a little bit of sense. She's a civilian. She's never actually been on the bridge when they've been in combat.
Yeah, she's mostly been hiding with a pillow over her head. She complains that Kira isn't doing anything, and Sai tells her that, well, he's busy with the Aegis, but she doesn't really understand that, because she doesn't know what the Aegis is.
She doesn't understand combat in general.
So we get some lightsaber on lightsaber, or beam saber on beam saber, rather, action between Kira and Atherin, who seem pretty determined to kill each other here.
Yeah, it's a wide step away from what we've seen from them before.
Sai is trying to detain Flay, but the ship shakes and she starts to get away. She's just basically freaking out. And as Sai's trying to comfort her, we hear Lacus starting to sing. And then we get an ominous cutaway. Also, she's animated terribly because...
Yes, she is.
Poor I think what I don't like is not Lacus's outfit. I just remember that no one can draw her face while she's wearing it.
I'm sorry, I got distracted by this color.
So Flay jumps Lacus, basically.
Off screen, we don't see what happens exactly. Another Jin destroys another Mobius. Mu, coming back, tells Maru that they basically have to escape. You would think that if they were ever going to be able to beat a Nazca class, it would be when they have 3 other ships backing them up. And if these ships can't take one Nazca class, what is the point of them coming to escort the Archangel?
Yeah, it makes no sense that their crew is this incompetent.
Flay's dad brings that up, asking, like, why the hell can't we shoot down one Jin? The Archangel got one, why can't we?
Because the Archangel is a prototype ship.
And the captain tells him to go get in a life pod. So Flay comes back to the Archangel Bridge, apparently just escaping Sai, with Lacus in tow. She had just added Lacus to her party, so Lacus had to follow her.
My headcanon is she kicked Sai in the nuts. That's how she got away from him.
And she says to radio the Nazca class and tell them that if they don't stop firing at her dad, she will kill Lacus.
How, I don't know, but...
With her, her rape knife. But as she is yelling about it, the Nazca class beams directly hit the Montgomery. There's a big explosion. We see Flay's dad getting on a life pod, but he doesn't escape. There's a big explosion, and he dead.
Kaboom.
And the Gens are like, yeah, we are the best. What? Don't fire on them, fire on the Archangel. Who said that?
I could just imagine them going like, can you believe they didn't shoot one of us down?
Well, though, to be fair, in the first episode, they're like, man, Miguel lost an arm? Man, he must be really sloppy today when they're attacking Heliopolis, so.
Well, actually, it's Miguel got shot down. It's somebody, some other guy got just
No, the first time he just loses. Oh, no, you're right. It's Ular. He just loses an arm.
Yeah.
Rusty!
Rusty loses everything. So, Flay was previously very upset when she just saw combat. Seeing her father's ship explodes makes her go,
She's
full blue
completely
screen
in
of death.
shock. Yeah. She's B-sod.
We get a close-up on Lacus's not quite correctly drawn face. That is pretty good at showing her sympathy and her kind of freaking out as well. Maru is just kind of stunned by this, and Natarl takes matters into her own hands. Doesn't even tell Cuzzy, hey, do stuff. She's like, Cuzzy, you're useless. Takes the phone from him and calls up Rao.
She basically does what
Flay's
Flay
plan
was
was.
asking for. She doesn't threaten her.
She implies a threat. She says, well, if you keep attacking, we'll just have to assume you don't want to protect her, so we'll just have to act. There's some pretty great reactions. Atherin is, of course, pissed off. Addis is, shocked. Rao just looks like, oh, what a twist. You got me this time, Mr.
What the
Shyamalan.
twist?
I never saw this coming. Because Rao is almost as good as Mu.
Yeah, I mean, she has the line, and most of the people involved are
I like that Kira
shocked.
looks more shocked about it than Atherin. So
I think, Kira thinks he's with the good guys, right? He knows Natarl. He knows Maru. I think he's probably shocked that they would let things go to that. Also, he might not have great combat awareness since he's focused on Atherin, and he's keeping the Aegis at bay. He's keeping the X Factor out. Why can't 3 ships and a bunch of Mobiuses deal with 1 ship and some Djinns?
4 if you count the Archangel being involved.
I just love the idea of the 2 Jin pilots getting back and high-fiving each other like, yeah, that would
Well,
way
they did
better.
lose 1 guy.
Well, yeah, but to the Archangel. I mean,
I
come
just,
on.
this whole thing,
It's got main character
I have
powers.
absolutely no issue with this. My problem is more a matter of everybody else seems horrified that this is
This
even an option.
probably violates a whole bunch of treaties. This is certainly not allowed under the Geneva Convention. We don't know what Zaft has with the Earth Alliance.
To be
Zaft
fair,
has already blown up a civilian colony.
yeah, also, they totally just nuked a senator. So,
Well, yeah, but he was on a combat ship.
okay, that's true.
He was on a
If-
combat ship, that makes sense. They blew up a civilian colony. Whoever here has already violated any kind of treaties,
Yeah, but
Zaft is already way
But there's
over
the
the
old
top
saying
here.
about democracy having to fight with its arm tied behind its back. And that's because if you want to have the moral high ground, you have to act like you should have the moral high ground.
Also, Zach, the Bloody Valentine tragedy.
Was not committed by the Earth forces.
Well, I
Yeah,
know, but
Yeah, technically it was. It was one of their nukes.
Yes, but no one knows exactly who committed it. That's one of the things that they were talking about.
That's
It started the war, but no one knows exactly who fired the thing.
So anyway,
Franz
Mu,
Ferdinand.
like Rao, he's pretty blasé. He's like, well, I didn't expect this to happen. And Rao has the super baller. Well, this must be super awkward for them. Even Rao is like, yeah, they must be upset about this. Zach, it's just you're super survivalist. You don't think at all about morale. Like, this has got to be bad. She's just a teenager like the rest of them. They have a mostly teenage crew. All of them are kind of Lacus Klein on that ship.
could you just imagine an entire ship manned by Lacus Kleins?
Oh god,
You
that would
are
be
in for a
horrifying.
treat, good sir.
Here's the thing. The Archangel is full of civilians from Heliopolis. The Archangel's crew, because they took them on, is under a significant pressure to protect these people. They can't protect those people with their guns, so telling them, if you shoot us, you're going to be shooting at her, protects those people.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's definitely underhanded. And like I said, it probably violates some treaties. It is definitely a heel move, and it never feels good to be the bad guy.
The aggressor sets the rules, Zaft blew up the colony first.
Yeah, but Zaft justified that, and perhaps the Archangel will justify this, But obviously, Athern and Nickel had a problem with morale after they blew up the colony, and this is just the flip side.
To be fair, how silly would they have felt if they blew up the Archangel and they're like, oh, Lacus Klein was on that ship.
Like,
Oops.
oh, there's a pink-haired corpse here in this explosion. They would never know.
Okay, that's probably...
We found a horror.
It's a pink-haired corpse.
So Tyler, what do you think?
Of?
This moral quandary.
The moral quandary that we've been talking about for the last couple of minutes.
I feel like it's a necessity. I honestly don't feel it's that big of a heel move. So
I do think that Natarl probably wouldn't have done it if Flay didn't literally bring Lacus to the bridge and give her the idea.
that's
You're probably
true.
right.
And that's why I'm okay with it. I don't think Natarl is bad for doing this. I don't think the Archangel is bad for doing this, but I do think it would be upsetting.
What would they have done to avert the situation otherwise?
Retreat in the first place,
Well, I mean, that's not an option now, so...
shoot them with their big cannon,
Yeah, actually let that thing roar.
have useful Mobiuses.
Well, they had one, but...
You got shut down.
They made a tactical blunder by coming to the fight, and they have to make a political gaffe to get out. I think it's fine, but I also think that for a whole bunch of teenagers who aren't soldiers...
Yeah. They don't see it as a necessary action, they see it as a morally reprehensible action.
Well,
Or
and,
me.
like I said, all of them are kind of in the same shoes as Lacus, except for that they're not politically important.
Or pink-haired.
It does almost kind of say, we will throw any of you away if survival is necessary, which is what happens to soldiers in war, but none of them are soldiers.
Well, to be fair, Kira's friends all actually enlisted.
Not yet.
No, they did.
No, they haven't enlisted yet. They put on uniforms. They don't have rank insignias.
Yep.
Spoiler, Zach.
I thought
It
they
becomes
actually-
a big deal when they enlist.
I thought they explicitly said that they had Well, they said they volunteered.
Yes, they did.
I don't
Yeah,
think
they have not
actually said
enlisted, because they can't sign up.
Because even earlier, Murdoch said, hey, Kira, you could volunteer. And he was like, fuck that. So
it.
yeah,
Yeah, he really did.
so I love how B Muse Rao is like, yeah, that must be mega awkward for them. This is the best.
Yeah, he really does have that effect on him.
So Addis is like, we can't continue. And Rao assents that, yes, killing my boss's daughter is probably not something even I am baller enough to get away with.
I love,
so we will
I love
withdraw.
how he says it, because it's not a matter of, it's not any like kind of, it's, fine, we'll
Yeah.
leave, I guess.
He even seems amused. He's like,
he
oh,
does.
I made them betray their moral values. Yes, I wish to go on hurting you.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I think Maru is not a great commanding officer, because that's something that pretty much had to happen.
I mean, she's not, but they had other options at this point. They could have continued the battle a little bit. They could have tried to retreat before going straight to the threats. Like I said, I don't think Natarl would have done this unless Flay had literally brought the option to the bridge and made it super easy. And I think this is supposed to show that Natarl is a better soldier than Maru.
Yeah.
Because Natarl was already supposed to be a bridge officer, and Maru was supposed to be a mechanic.
Yep.
Yeah, she really.
I'm kind of surprised she didn't abdicate the position.
She tried to.
Well, not to Natarl, though?
That's true.
Well, she kind of got
But I
put
think
in charge.
Natarl said, you're in charge.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
And then she's like, Moo, you're in charge. And Moo is like, fuck that.
Natarl is like the quintessential soldier. That's why she runs the combat section. Like, she follows the chain of command and all that stuff. Generally
Except for
speaking,
here,
Except
but-
for here. Well, there's a couple of other instances where she kind of takes charge in combat, but that's also her job.
Like I said, this series relies on foil characters. It's its biggest trick. Here is where we really emphasize the difference between Maru and Natarl. Whereas Maru is a bleeding heart and Natarl is a survivalist.
Natarl
That's why I
Zach.
like Natarl.
So she says, someone call 911. I mean, escort that girl to her quarters. So someone does, and the episode ends on a note of Lacus being super nervous, sad. It's a little hard to read her emotion exactly. And also Flay is exhausted because her dad died. Poor Flay.
And also because she threatened to kill another teenager.
Yeah.
I think the way you put it is best, Jeremy. She looks like she's both nervous at the situation now and she's sad that it happened.
Yeah, one of the things we really see is that Lacus is actually sad that Flay's dead. I think that's what the long close-up on her is for.
Man, Flay has been such a colossal asshole to her. I'm surprised she has any sympathy for that.
But
person.
it
Lacus is a bigger bleeding heart than Maru.
Well, that, and she is in sort of a similar situation, right? She says to Flay, hey, we're basically the same. And Flay hates that, but that doesn't make it not true.
That's true.
And I imagine what's going through her head is, what if that was my dad? Which is something that could definitely happen. So that's episode 9. Let's go ahead and do high points, low points. Tyler, what's your high point for this episode?
Probably Natarl taking charge and threatening to kill the hostage, or threatening to let the hostage be killed by the enemy.
It certainly increases the drama and is a strong character-defining moment for Natarl. All right, Zach, do you have a high point?
Yeah, I personally like the instance with the door.
Sai getting kicked in
Oh,
the
yeah.
nuts.
That is one of your favorite lines. huh?
That is one of my favorite overall lines in the series to begin with. So
You can't have an implied high point, Tyler. It has to have to
Why
actually
not?
have it on screen. High point for me, we didn't really get a chance to talk about it with all the combat going on, but both the Aegis and the Strike use their Vulcans quite a bit, both for distracting fire and to shoot down missiles.
That is
And
true.
I always like it when the Vulcans get a little attention. Because they're not sexy, but you put them on there for a reason.
well, it makes
Well, we
sense.
got
I
a
mean,
lot
if you can land a lot of shots with the Vulcans on like around that area, it's not gonna do a whole lot of damage. But oh my god, is it gonna be annoying as hell?
Well, we got a fair amount of decent combat between the Aegis and the Strike. It was not great, but
Yeah.
No angsting in the middle of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm kind of
The
disappointed.
problem with that fight really is the lack of emotional beats. The fight is fine, but it doesn't feel like it means anything. All right, so low points. You got a low point, Tyler?
Honestly, the lack of Athranks. So,
Like the first third of the episode doesn't really go anywhere. It takes it a little while to get itself ramped up.
I think
And it
that's
feels like it's out of place with the rest of it.
I think it's intentional. I think at the beginning the Archangel crew is super excited because, oh man, we're finally going to get relief. And then, yeah, of course that blows up in their face, and it ends with probably the most tense moment of the series yet. As far as episode cliffhangers go, we had that really cool one where they were about to launch into combat, but this is probably the series at its most tense thus far.
actually, my low point is the Senator not getting the bean burrito he ordered. So,
The low point for me is the fact that no one can draw Lacus's face. She's the most popular anime character, female, for 4 years in a row after this. You know, this is after this, but still, no one can draw her face.
you know who they do get consistently correct, though? Haro.
Haro, Haro.
I think they get her face right later on in the series.
I mean, they
No,
even-
yeah, they do.
But
When she reappears later, she's perfect. And honestly, what I think happens is Gundam Seed was incredibly successful. I think they got some budget raises, and I think that's a lot of why the second half is able to do a lot of what it's able to do. All right, so last week we forgot to put a mobile suit on our mobile suit rankings, so we
I
should
thought that was
fix
intentional.
I forgot. So, no time like the present. And for a mobile suit to add this week, I think it's time we add the Ale Strike. You guys can vote for something else if you like, but we're going to see a lot of the Ale Strike, but we've also pretty much seen all its tricks already. It's got 2 beam sabers like an Ale Strike. It's got a beam rifle. It's got a shield. It's the Gundam with a jetpack.
I really like it personally. Like I'm partial to jetpacks in the first place. I like jetpacks and I like sword combat. It's got both.
It's not my favorite pack for the Strike so far, so
It's really
What's your favorite one?
bland.
probably Sword. It's got a big-ass sword. How do you compete with that?
Sword is pretty nice, but it's very, very limited in what it can do.
I'm rating it purely on aesthetics, so...
It's really bland to me. I like it more than I like the original Gundam, but it really feels like a Gundam 2.0 or like a Gundam Verka, for those of you who know. It just feels like a redesign on it. And that's a little lazy when we have some way better designs in this series. But let's go ahead and put it on the list. Do we agree it's better than the Strike without a Striker pack?
Yeah, I think so.
I think the red on the jetpack really helps with the color. What about the Dual Gundam, which is pretty literally just the original? I also think I like it a little more than the Dual.
I think I agree.
Again,
do too.
mostly for color reasons.
The Mobius Zero, though.
I like the Mobius Zero, but I think I like the Ale Striker more because I like mechs. Says the BattleTech fan.
Yeah, I think I agree, actually.
I'm not actually wearing it. I have a shirt that has a Atlas's Death's Head on it.
Okay, so above that is the Blitz Gundam, which I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. It's got some cool gimmicks, but I don't really like the overall design.
I find the Blitz being more gimmicky than anything else.
I actually like the Blitz better than the Ale Strike, but I'm already outvoted, so...
All right, so above that is the Sword Strike, which you said you think is your favorite, right?
I mean, it's got a giant sword.
Giant swords aren't everything.
You say
It's not
that.
about size, it's how you use it.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean...
He
have you
used
seen-
it to kill. He killed Miguel with that. Who's
I-
the Ale Striker killed?
I'm the guy that likes the giant, like, wall-sized swords.
I assume you've seen that clip between Cloud and Sephiroth where they're arguing length versus girth. Honestly, I prefer the Sword Strike. That's...
I mean, when I was a kid, I really didn't like the Sword Strike because I really don't like mobile suits without a reliable ranged combat option. But I kind of do think the Sword Strike is a lot more better as a design.
It's
I
got
think
more
the coloration
badass
is a
appeal.
little better. It feels a lot more unique. It feels less unique as they give more and more mobile suits that giant sword. But we're not to Gundam Seed Destiny yet, so we don't have to worry about that.
We have to reorder the list after Destiny.
No,
I like the Sword Strike because, like I said, I like melee combat weapons and I like mechs. I mean, they kind of go together. But I like the flexibility the Ale Striker brings to the table. I like the aesthetic of them both, but I just like that flexibility.
I agree with you, but the original Gundam had all that, and it just feels like the original Gundam with a cool red jetpack.
To be fair, if we're
I'm
going
okay
for
with
functionality, definitely the Ale Strike, I feel, is superior to the
Well,
Sword
I feel
Strike,
like we
so-
have to balance function and form and creativity. And I think I like the sword a little more. The Ale Strike still goes at number 3, behind the Sword Strike and bizarrely the high mobility Jin.
I really like that Jin.
Yeah, Tyler really likes that Jin.
I know he does. All right, so that should do it for this episode. Join us next week when we watch episode 10, the second Friday, if Toonami had ever run this properly, Crossroads. And again, next episode kind of closes out an arc. And then a few episodes later, it closes out the larger arc. But these 5 episodes actually, besides the first one, which sucks, form a pretty good little arc. If you want to listen to past episodes or our other podcasts, Last Time on Video Games, you can get those at our website, www.lasttimeonvideogames.com. Until next time, if you get into trouble, just grab the nearest pop star and threaten her life.
Bye.
Escort ship Bernard has been taken out.
X-303 Aegis is headed toward escort ship Law.
We're being destroyed by our own machine that they stole?
Is there anything more ridiculous?